So, Mr. Chairman, it's a presentation that we cannot receive.
Oh.
On behalf of the Gallery, we are specialized in painting and painting of portrait and artwork. We are moved to do this work for our father, Mr. Tiawan Gongloe. So we want to present this in it's like the and everybody can see what
Can you go on video? Let me see.
Yeah. So can we all building? Yeah, can we all do building?
Yeah, sure. Just to
Take that.
So that is that. This is it.
So these are the things that I want to thank you very much. Creativity is something that is very important for every nation, but the atmosphere must exist for people to be free to be creative.
Yeah.
And that is what governance is about. Interestingly, I'm an artist myself. Growing up, I used to do watercolor painting and all of that. This is really, really good. I want to thank you for this with the room. This is the first art piece I've received. Anyone doing this. So we made history. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Wow. This is so.
Yeah, so we want to put it. We want to put it to the end. We want to put it to the entrance. Yeah. Once you guys discuss, you are there.
1 million.
Oh, okay.
I would like to do like a good picture with it because I also want to put some icons.
Yes.
But if our flavor flying out, you're awesome.
Well, yeah, the play, right?
Oh, okay. So that's it, huh?
Yeah, yesterday, yeah.
Yeah. I've been going in flash. Channel's funny. Yeah. What the artist?
Pass the roof. Where are you?
Where are your brooms?
Let's give up with me.
Leave your broom.
Yeah. National Commission of LPP.
Revolution.
Is that a fear or put a smile on your face?
Yeah.
United States branch and various auxiliary groups in the United States that are supporting our bid to become president of Liberia. Fellow Liberians, in a few days, we will be observing National Unification Day in commemoration of President Thomas' National Integration and Unification Policy. As we all observe this major holiday, we must all deeply reflect on the significance of national unification. It was through this national unification and integration policy that President Thomas carved out 4 new counties: Bong, Grand Jeddah, Glofa, and Nimba counties, out of the then existing provinces in 1964. In my view, the National Integration and Unification Policy was promulgated to reaffirm what was already enshrined in the 1847 Constitution, because it provided for the equality of all Liberians and their equal participation in the nation's democratic process. Fellow compatriots, even though the principle of equality is sacredly enshrined in our organic law and the statutes, unfortunately, extreme corruption in government with no punishment has strengthened impunity and made it a formidable obstacle to genuine national unification in Liberia following the Liberian civil conflict. For the past 8 months, since my election as teller bearer of the Liberian People's Party, I have been crisscrossing this country, reaching out to some of the remotest parts of Liberia, sleeping on bad roads, walking on monkey bridges, riding canoes to reach the Liberian people everywhere in Liberia, especially the most neglected parts, in order to hold serious conversations with them about the major problems of Liberia and to hear their views on how to solve them. I have done so because it is often said, quote, "Seeing is believing," unquote. I have seen a lot since September 2022, when I initiated a nationwide tour. Fellow Liberians, despite the fact that our country is almost 176 years old, despite the fact that Liberia prides itself as the oldest independent republic in Africa, our country is still pathetically plagued by a very high degree of poverty and underdevelopment. As we painstakingly went throughout the country, we witnessed for ourselves the high degree of hardship that our people are experiencing on a daily basis. Whether it was in Grand Bassa County, or Bong County, River Cess County, or River G County, Bapolo County, Grand Jeddah County, or Grand Cruz County, I witnessed a high level of poverty due to extreme deprivation. Poverty is severely tormenting our people and inflicting severe pains on them. The failure of the government to maintain existing public highways and farm-to-market roads have made most roads throughout the country nearly impassable. For example, it now takes people 1 to 2 weeks to travel to Monrovia from most parts of southeastern Liberia. The lack of health posts or clinics where they exist, the lack of essential equipment and jobs, the lack of public schools, and where they exist, the lack of adequate teachers and teaching materials, and the lack of safe drinking water, thereby exposing most Liberians to waterborne diseases and preventable deaths. My fellow Liberians, as I see it, corruption is the formidable impediment to the achievement of national unification in this country. Corruption is not only corrosive, but also very divisive and destructive. It is corruption which has today created an undeclared socio-economic caste system in this country and brought about a situation whereby less than 1% of the people who are in top government positions are enjoying over 90% of the income generated from the resources of this country, while 99% of the people have become very poor. Poverty in Liberia is increasing every day, as can be seen by the increasing number of beggars all over Liberia. People are now even begging for money to buy basic necessities for survival, such as a cup of rice, a bag of plastic water, to pay transportation fare for their children to go to school, and money to buy headache tablets or to buy cheap street food, otherwise known in Liberia as kobo. These conditions of extreme poverty are the same everywhere in Liberia, both in the cities and in the rural parts of Liberia. It does not matter whether you are in West Point, Slipway, Nuku Town, Jala Town, Bassa Community in Monrovia, or any other part of Monrovia. It does not matter whether you are in Buto, Beulale, or Zikepa in Nimba County, or Benekole, Fokole, or Zoweta in Bon County. It does not matter whether you are in Bokeza, Bangwe, Poniahun, Konya, or Bakedu in Lofa County. Yes, it does not matter whether you are in Supplement Town, or Harris Town, or even Babulu City in Babulu County. It does not matter whether you are in Wangeko, Nambela, or Tiani in Grand Cayman County, or Bar, Clay, or Sastown in Bombay County. Oh no, it does not matter whether you are in Douglastown, Nindowin, or Wiala in Markipe County, or whether you are in Tuzon, Town, or Babla Town in Grand Jida County. It does not matter whether you are in Owens Grove, or Zono Town, or even Brazikia Town in Grand Bassa County. It does not matter whether you are in Bojizi Town, Papai Town, or Cambos Town in Riverside County. It does not matter whether you are in Pines Town, or Joazon, or Vubadi in Sino County. It does not really matter whether you are in Sedeken, Fishtown, or Caloket in Maryland County, or whether you are in Berwan, Boajiken, Dobo, or Sastown in Grand Kuru County. It really does not matter. Abject poverty exists all over Liberia. Yet, the Speaker of the House of Representatives in Liberia, a very underdeveloped country, last year made an annual salary of US $245,540, while the Speaker of the House of Representatives in the United States, a country that Liberia depends on for most of its international aid, made $223,500. Yet the Speaker of the House of Representatives of Liberia recently went to Plibo shamelessly through the Ivory Coast, and upon arrival was seen displaying hundreds of thousands of Liberian dollars to persuade the poor people to receive the money and vote for him, thereby engaging in vote buying, in clear violation of the Global Magnitsky Act. Similarly, the President pro tempore of the Liberian Senate received an annual salary last year of $254,250 United States dollars, while the Senate pro tempore of the United States of America received US $193,400 during the same period. This means that the Speaker of the House in Liberia received US $22,040 more than the Speaker of the House in the United States last year. And the President pro tempore of the Liberian Senate received US $60,086 more than the Senate President pro tempore of the United States. This is scandalous, wicked, and a display of gross insensitivity to the suffering of the masses of the Liberian people. It does not make any sense for any official of government in Liberia to make a higher salary than any government official in the United States holding the same position. I call upon the lawmakers of Liberia to reverse this situation immediately and permanently. Otherwise, the citizens of the United States, this mind-boggling situation reminds me of the words of two great Liberian musicians, Levi Zinawe and Jonathan Kofa. Zinawe made the music, quote, "These people are too corrupt," unquote. And Kofa, otherwise known as Takunje, made a music with the following title: "The people fool us and they lie to us," unquote. On October 10 this year, we must not allow them to fool us and lie to us again. There can be no unity in a country where a few people enjoy so much and a majority of the people suffer so much daily with no money to feed themselves, to send their children to school, and to buy medicine when they get sick. We together must change this situation in order to become a truly united and integrated nation. The only way to do so is to register and vote wisely for a good leader. Fellow compatriots, we must all remember that the ultimate goal of a national unification policy is to scrupulously cultivate social equity in order to ensure social harmony and national cohesion. But when the ruling elites recklessly neglect and virtually abandon the poor masses, thereby criminally depriving them of some of the basic necessities of life, the very essence of national unification is severely undermined. In such a situation, national unification policy becomes meaningless to the people. In spite of the vexing deprivation we saw across the country, despite the hellish condition our people have been subjected to over the years, the silver lining is that the Liberian people remain resolutely resilient and optimistic about the future of their country. Our people are very eager and determined to robustly play their part in ushering a new national leadership that will relentlessly exert efforts in transforming our country. Liberia has now become an international barrier, a laughing stock in global circles, because corruption is impeding national development and national unification. My dear compatriots, amid all the ferocious onslaughts of corruption, the good news is that the Liberian Constitution, in its very first chapter, has empowered every one of us to decisively work together and get rid of the prevailing hellish situation that is hurting all of us in the best interest of our country. As a nation and as a people, we can either radically eradicate or drastically diminish the prevailing mass poverty across this country by peacefully and democratically changing our current condition so that our national well-being and happiness can be realized. Fellow Liberians, when I'm elected President of the Republic of Liberia on October 10, 2023, in the legislative and presidential elections, a Gongloe administration will leave no stone unturned in eliminating all forms of economic terrorism in the fabric of the Liberian society. For those of you that might still be tempted to be passive about or indifferent to the nation's democratic process due to the prevailing situation, rest assured that help is on the way. Rather than being passive spectators, I humbly urge all my fellow Liberians to be active participants. Let us all work together to retire all those greedy hustlers who are so obsessed about licking their fingers all the way to the air bowls. Fellow citizens, we can make it because, as Article 1 of our Constitution says, quote, all power is inherent in the people. All free governments are instituted by their authority and for their benefit, and they have the right to alter and reform the same when their safety and happiness so require, unquote. I have no doubt that the Liberian people will alter their government this year in a peaceful and non-violent manner. On this day, I call upon all members and supporters of the ruling party and the opposition political parties to conduct themselves in a peaceful manner during the entire electoral process this year. This is the best way to show love of country. We therefore humbly call on all Liberians on this very important National Unification Day to join us on the Freedom Train with brooms in their hands to a better Liberia, so that beginning on October 10, 2023, we can usher in a government that will effectively care for the Liberian people by putting their tax money to work for their security, well-being, and happiness, because genuine peace, reconciliation, and unity can only be attained by a happy nation. We have a chance to free our naturally rich country from backwardness, lawlessness, gross negligence of duty, and carelessness of our leaders, greed and selfishness, so that our country can truly become a sweet land of liberty for all Liberians, irrespective of their current conditions, where they come from, their names, their physical and mental conditions, or their educational levels. We must continue to choose election as a peaceful way of changing government and putting competent people in power who love the people of Liberia over what is happening currently. Therefore, we must choose on election day not to continue to choose poverty on election day by voting for the people who are not competent and do not love the people of Liberia. And let me repeat, this is important. We must not continue to choose poverty on election day by voting for people who are not competent and do not love the people of Liberia. I want to repeat this. We must not continue, Liberian people, to choose poverty on election day by voting for people who are not competent and do not love the people of Liberia. Long live the Republic of Liberia. May the God of our fathers and mothers save our dear country from the chronic disease of corruption, ignorance, and arrogance, stimulated by greed and selfishness, through changing our minds this year to make a better decision on October 10, 2023, in order for our country to be truly reconciled and united as one people with one destiny for sustained peace, progress, and prosperity. The goal of transforming Liberia into a better nation is a collective responsibility of all Liberians. Therefore, I call on all Liberians, especially those in the progressive and student communities, as well as those in the religious community and the civil society, who over the years have advocated for respect for the rule of law and human rights, sometimes at great risk to their lives, to join us in order to work together for a better Liberia. We also call upon the international community to support us by contributing to the holding of a free, fair, and transparent legislative and presidential election this year. On behalf of the Liberian People's Party, LPP, and all the auxiliary groups supporting our aspiration, I wish all Liberians here at home, in other parts of Africa, the United States of America, Canada, Central and Latin America, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, China, India, South Korea, Indonesia, and other parts of the world, and happy Unification Day 2023. A better Liberia is possible. Thank you very much.